Good afternoon, Niner fans. How we feeling? It's Monday. Another new week. How's everybody doing? Hopefully everybody had a good weekend. Mine was pretty good, except the Warriors lost on Sunday, but the rest of the weekend was good. The Warriors were cooking, and then they got cooked last night. But it is what it is. We're here to talk about some Niner news. There's not a lot, obviously, off season. There's not too much going on. It's kind of nice on the weekends. You kind of have some time to enjoy yourself, go out, do some stuff. But in just a few weeks, the NFL draft is upon us. So a few more weeks for that. And, it's a pretty exciting time because now we're starting to get a little bit more semblance of the 49ers plan might be. We got some top 30 visit updates to talk about, and we'll go over those and go over some basic questions. We'll keep it pretty short today. Not a lot of news, but, I'm sure there'll be some questions that arise that we could talk about. So what's going on? 49ers throwbacks says hit that like button. Debtopia says, hey, Raj, what's up? Steven Reynolds says, what's up, Raj? What's up, Steven? Chris says, what's up, Raj? Always good to be a San Francisco faithful. It always is good to be a San Francisco 49er faithful. But, it was a rough year last year. It is what it is. Julius Callaway says, Mitch Wishnowsky, more days until the draft. Is it Mitch Wishnowsky? Did he change his number, right? How many? What? I don't even know what number he is. Is he number 3 now? He's number 3 now. I'm pretty sure he's not. It's not 18 days. Mitch Wishnowsky's number 3. Remember he took Ray McLeod's number? Pretty sure that's the case. So it's not Mitch Wishnowsky days anymore, right? Yeah, he's number 3 or numbers. Yeah, he's number 3. Yeah, right here. We got the pick. It's also right there. Look at that, number 3, Mitch Wishnowsky. He changed his number last year. My guy. Formerly 18. Yeah, MSQ. He was number 18. It's not Mitch Wishnowsky days anymore. Technically, number 3. But let's get to the news. 49ers have had some top 30 visits, and we're going to talk about those guys because primarily it's defense. The 49ers are prioritizing, it looks like, defense on this year's draft class, and I think that's much needed. Obviously, the defensive line has taken a massive hit in free agency, right, in the offseason. They lost Hargrave. They lost Leonard Floyd. They lost, who else did they lose on the D-line? Well, you lost Dre Greenlaw, linebacker, who's, a big part of the run defense, So you lost some players there. And last year you lost Armstead, So you brought back Kevin Givens. You also lost Malik Collins, right? You got rid of him. So Niners defensive line is very thin. You got Yetur Gross-Matos. You got Nick Bosa. You got Jordan Elliott. You got Kevin Givens. You got Evan Anderson. And then Sam O. Those are your 49er offensive linemen. Like, there's some good players, some good depth pieces, but they need some more dogs. They need some monsters up front. They need some guys that can get to the quarterback, and they need to get some guys that can play run defense. And it looks like the 49ers are looking into those type of players. So they have Tennessee defensive tackle Omar Norman Lott scheduled to have a top 30 visit. This was according to Matt Barrows this morning. Guy's a really good pass rushing defensive tackle. He's not the best run stopper, so they would still have to get a couple more guys in that department. But again, you get some big hog mollies up front. A guy like Omar Norman, he's really, really, really explosive. He's a quick guy, and he's a guy I feel that Chris Kosert could come in and utilize right away and plug him into this defensive line, and he'd be a very explosive pass rushing defensive tackle for the 49ers. So good to see that. The 49ers are also having a top 30 visit with Georgia defensive end Mykel Williams. He actually visited the team today. It was on his Instagram story. This guy's a really powerful edge rusher. Guy's fantastic. Really, really good player. And I think he'd be able to, be that guy on the opposite side of both, so that could really give them that they've been needing. And Mykel Williams, really solid, right? And he's also out of Georgia. Georgia produces some pretty damn good talent. If you ask me, look at the Eagles. I mean, they just go and they grab the next big time defensive lineman out of Georgia every year. It's like, boom, here we go. Let's get these dogs in. And they're literal dogs. I know they're the Georgia Bulldogs, but they're literal dogs in the NFL. They produce some absolutely fantastic talent. So be a good player to have for the 49ers. And the other guy that the 49ers have been reported to have a top 30 visit with this week is Walter Nolan, Ole Miss defensive tackle. This is one of the best players in the entire NFL draft. So he's having a top 30 visit. I mean, he's literally, arguably, it depends on who you ask. Some people might say Walter Nolan's the best defensive tackle in the draft. Like, he's the top of his position, and the 49ers need a defensive tackle. So if they get a guy like Walter Nolan, oh my God, that would be a home run hit. To me, Walter Nolan could be the Quinnen Williams in Robert Saleh's defense. Like, that's how good I see this guy potentially being. He could be Quinnen Williams 2.0, right? The Jets, they had Quinnen Williams, and he was a massive, big-time, a player at defensive tackle for the Jets. Now imagine you have a guy like Quinnen Williams and you pair him with Nick Bosa. I mean, that's a scary thought. So those are 3 players that the 49ers have top 30 visits that were reported this week. There's some rumors out there of other players that are on the list, but nothing was, these ones are not like absolutely been reported. These are just names that have been thrown out there from various accounts, and we're going to talk about them. So Mike Green, defensive end out of Marshall, another fantastic edge rusher who's really climbing up the rankings through the pro days and draft, combine and all that stuff. So Mike Green, we got Landon Jackson. He's an Arkansas defensive end. And then you got TJ Sanders out of South Carolina. Although Rap Sheet, or was it Schefter or Rap Sheet, he didn't necessarily say that TJ Sanders was, so here it goes from Adam Schefter. He says, South Carolina's defensive tackle TJ Sanders is visiting with the Texans today, Tuesday with the Cardinals. He previously visited the Falcons, Titans, Eagles, and Packers. But there were some rumors out there that he's supposedly meeting with the 49ers, but it's not really official. There's no official word on it. But again, that's the guy that could be on the 49ers radar. Matt Barrows is saying that he'll have the full list next week. I wish he would just provide it to us this week, but maybe they're still working out some things. But as we know, the players that we mentioned earlier today in this show were players that the 49ers have met with. So again, real quick, Walter Nolan, you got Mykel Williams, and you got Omar Norman Lott. So those are 3 players that we know for a fact have top 30 visits with the 49ers at the moment. And we know they've met with tight ends. Looks like they're putting an emphasis on getting some more weapons out there to help George Kittle, and obviously some defensive linemen because they need all the help they can in that department. Let's take a look. So, last week there was Texas Tech tight end Jalen Conyers. He has a top 30 visit scheduled. He was a very good, pass-catching tight end out of Texas Tech. And the other guy that had a top 30 visit was Harold Fannin Jr., tight end out of Bowling Green. So those 2 tight ends were already confirmed. That was last week. And then the defensive linemen that we just mentioned several minutes ago were confirmed. And those are some great talent. If the 49ers could get a guy like Harold Fannin Jr., I mean, he was probably the best tight end in terms of statistics last year. Last year, he was a dominant pass catcher, right? He had 117 passes caught for 1,555 yards and 10 touchdowns. He was a first-team Associated Press All-American. He was named the MAC Player of the Year and Offensive Player of the Year. And his receptions and receiving yards set the single-season FBS records for a tight end. So Harold Fannin Jr., nothing to slouch over. He was a very good player for Bowling Green. He could be for the 49ers. So, 49ers have 2 tight ends that they brought in for 30 visits, and they have a couple of defensive linemen that they've brought in for top 30 visits. So it looks like their vision is getting clear. Go get a guy to help out George Kittle. Go get a guy to help out Brock Purdy. Go get you some defensive linemen because his defensive line is very thin, right? Let's take a look at some of these comments here as we've kind of dropped some of this news out there. My take is I know a lot of people want an offensive lineman, and if the 49ers don't have the guy they want on their board, they're 100% going to have to take the defensive lineman, which could be the best player in the draft at that point. At 11, if one of the blue chip offensive tackles is off the board, don't reach for a guy. Take the best available talent. And a guy like Walter Nolan, if he's available at 11, it's a no-brainer. You take him. I know a lot of people are thinking Kelvin Sampson. You got Kelvin Banks Jr. I was thinking of the NCAA March Madness, Kelvin with Sampson. But Kelvin Banks, you got him. You got Walter. You got Will Campbell, right? You got Membu from Missouri. Those are some of the best offensive tackles. But if those guys are off the board, you don't want to reach. I think you go for a guy like Walter Nolan if he's there. Mason Graham maybe if he's available. So I think the 49ers, just the way this is kind of playing out, their top 30 visits with what Kyle Shanahan said last week and John Lynch said last week in terms of them really liking their offensive line. I don't think they go offensive line in the first round. I know a lot of people want them to. I think they're going to go defensive line in the first round, unless there's a guy that you have to like best in the like. Somehow some guy slides, right? If a guy slides that just shouldn't, then maybe they'll pounce on him. So we'll see. I mean, there's a possibility the 49ers draft him. So Steven Reynolds says, please don't draft Mykel Williams. Larry Krueger doesn't think Mykel is the guy. Woo, okay. MSQ says Walter Nolan has the ceiling of Jalen Carter and Aaron Donald. He really does. He is, to me, out of the guys they have top 30 visits right now, Walter Nolan's like I said, just a home run hit. I love it. Steven says Walter Nolan is the answer, being in 11 or trade back, and we can still draft him. Yeah, you might be able to draft him with the trade back and still get another top 10 or, a top tier player there. So could be the move there. I like Walter Nolan just like you guys. Tanisha says people are going to try and go after these players. Every player that the 49ers other teams want and go after. They know we find talent and develop players. Teams always want what we have. That's true. So sometimes you can't always be upfront with what you want. So sometimes the 49ers try to evade questions and try to make it seem like they want a guy, but they're actually going for another guy. Like sometimes they have secret meetings with these players, or like they'll call them like, hey, we really like you, but we can't put it out there in the media. And, stuff behind the scenes we don't see. But yeah, sometimes they really got to meet with these players and do these things, and they really want them. But then other teams will say, oh, Niners want him. He must be good. So then they might draft him. So the Niners can't get him. That's strategy. The draft is crazy. It's all about strategy sometimes, Yes, you want to draft the players you like and you want to scout them and stuff, but you're scouting against 31 other teams in the league, and they want some of the same guys that you want. So if you want a guy and another team wants a guy, you got to strategize. So that's why people traded so they could go get the guy they want. And you have to have them, right? You have to have this prospect. So it is a little bit of a competition. It is a little bit of a strategy that is involved in the NFL draft. It's kind of crazy. MSQ says Fanning will probably go in the 3 rounds. So that's definitely a target. Yeah, I agree. Throwback says, I don't see how the 49ers draft an O-line. Kyle and Lynch are pleased with the current O-line. I don't think the fans are going to be pleased with that early without drafting off. I mean, Niner fans, they want Jake Brendel's toes cut off, his arms amputated. They want Colton McKivitz sent to Guadalajara. They don't like these guys. So I know the 49er fans want to upgrade, but Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch say they like him. But it could be a tactic. It could be smoke screen. That's why you got to really take everything with a grain of salt right now. Maybe they're just lying to us. Maybe they don't think Jake Brendel is the bee's knees. But that's what's being reported. So Chris says, I've seen a trade proposal, 3 draft picks for Trey Hendrickson. Put him on the other side of Bosa. Would you make this trade? Yeah, I've seen a lot of Trey Hendrickson trade proposals, and I saw, I think it was Bleacher Report, BR Gridiron posted, oh, yeah, Niners trade for Trey Hendrickson. They trade the 3 pick. I mean, obviously, it would be a fantastic move. I think Niners getting Trey Hendrickson would be an immediate upgrade, but I just don't think it's reasonable. I don't think it's not necessarily reasonable. I don't think it's – I just don't see it happening because – yes, the 49ers could potentially trade draft picks, which I feel like they really want to utilize those draft picks to bolster this team, and not just for this year, but for the future. They're really trying to make these picks, stick, but also money-wise. Like the 49ers are really not trying to spend crazy money right now. In the future, yeah, they're going to go back to spending money like they usually do, but they also want to spend it on guys they develop. And I just don't see Trey Hendrickson being a little bit upper in age. He's a great player. He's one of the best defensive ends in the league. I just don't see them going all in and trying to trade that guy because that's not the one guy. Like bringing in Trey Hendrickson is not going to make you a Super Bowl contender automatically. Great player. I think it would increase their chances of winning the NFC West, and they'd be light years ahead of where they are right now, especially on that D line. But I don't think that's the one move they just have to make. I don't think they're going to do it. And again, the way the offseason's going, the 49ers are not spending a lot of money. Trey Hendrickson wants to get paid. He's due a big contract extension, and that's the reason he's having issues with Cincinnati is they haven't paid him yet. They don't know if they're going to pay him yet, and they're okay with maybe trading him because you can get a lot of talent. Like you said, 3 first-round or 3 draft picks. You can turn 3 draft picks into really good edge rushers and defensive players and offensive linemen or whatever instead of one guy. Great player, but you want to build that talent. Because look at the Bengals. They just signed Jamar Chase. They just signed T. Higgins to massive contracts. They got a cap space issue, just like 49ers, right? They're going to have to be paying these guys tons of money. Joe Burrow's getting $55 million a year. So at some point, they have to get younger through the draft. And I think if they do trade Trey Hendrickson and he's able to get three draft picks in a net, trade result, they would love it. So yes, he would make this team amazing. I just don't see it happening for the 49ers. And I think, honestly, as much as I like the player, they need to get young and they need to build up more than just one pick or one player, because they need starters for the future. Because again, look what happened this year. You lost a lot of players, and you have to replace those guys. And next year, we're going to lose some players, and the year after that. So you have to continue to get younger and develop your talent down the line. And again, Trey Hendrickson's going to be expensive. So I don't think they could pay Nick Bosa and Hendrickson and pay Brock Purdy and extend George Kittle. You know what I mean? So it comes a point where you have to limit yourself. And the 49ers are doing that this year. So, yeah, there'd definitely be a contract extension, Justin. That's the problem. You get the trade, you get him, and now there's a contract extension. You can't afford the guy. So, yeah, dumb trade ideas like that. Don't be gullible. But, Justin, that's what these sports pages do. Like Bleacher Report, they're just doing it for clout. Like you'll see, they'll post, oh, here's this trade proposal. Oh my God. Or whatever sports page, they'll post it because they want to get some likes. They want to draw attention. That's how they get engagement. That's how they get people talking. Like, yeah, it's fun to think. It's fun to sit there and say, oh my God, imagine. But it's just not likely. And you're right. Because of the fact that they'd have to extend them, it just makes no sense. Do you think we'd get a first pick for BA? Yeah, exactly. Not going to happen. MSQ says, bad, good, but the Niners have showed they're willing to trade down in the first round. Yeah, they have. The 49ers have showed the willingness to trade back a little bit. They've done it multiple times. You remember when they traded back to get Kinlaw because they knew that was the guy they wanted. Probably wasn't the pick they should have made, but hey, they knew they had him, and then they also traded so they can get Brandon Ayuk. Boom, boom. They get 2 guys in the first round. I could see them executing something like that. If there's 2 guys they really think they can get, they can make a draft night trade day one, boom, and get 2 guys instead of 1 guy. So 49ers have executed it also when they got Solomon Thomas and Reuben Foster in the first round. Now, that was absolutely horrible, net result. But at the time, it was like, boom, we're getting 2 guys, stud linebacker, a really good defensive tackle who, they thought 2 guys could be cornerstone players. I mean, they were wrong. Reuben Foster had, off-field issues. He was a red flag characteristic, character traits, but could have been a good player, right? And then Solomon Thomas just wasn't the right pick. There were so much players on the board that you could have drafted, but 49ers went safe. Defensive lineman, right? You have a new team, new franchise, new GM, new coach, and you were like, okay, here's a safe pick, defensive lineman, but Solomon Thomas was not the move because they tried to play him at this hybrid edge tackle, didn't utilize him where he should have been. He's kind of a tweener, and he shouldn't have been the number 3 pick. They should have maybe got CMC or get a quarterback. There was a lot of good quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes, right? Who else was there? I think Watson was available. So, I mean, I know he's crazy now, massages and stuff. But at the time, he was a heck of a player. Patrick Mahomes also passed up, but a lot of good players they passed up. But again, the point is the 49ers have shown the willingness to trade, and I agree with that. And I could see them trading back and getting more picks instead of just 1 pick at 11. Although if there's a can't miss talent at 11 and you're like, oh my God, we have to get this guy. How did he drop? They're going to take that player. So, Thump Nathan, MSQ says, all love, but you owe my San Francisco Giants an apology for what you said on the Krug show last week. Put some respect on the sport of baseball. Yeah, I should apologize to you. I, said I'm not the biggest baseball guy in the world. I mean, every once in a while, I'll go to a game. Like, I'll go to a Giants game this year. I'll go to a live game, a couple games. I've been to many baseball games throughout my life, but I just don't like baseball anymore. I used to love it, but then they stopped taking steroids, and the game is not as fun. But I will say this. I do owe you an apology. Giants are crushing. They're number 1 team in the West, man, in the AL West. So you guys are amazing. Killing it. Shout out to your Giants. What a weekend. 3-game sweep of the Mariners. So, yeah, I owe you guys an apology. Respect Baseball is a tough sport. I played baseball in high school. It's not that I don't think it's a great, tough sport. It's just I can't watch it any day. You get older, it's hard to stay awake for a whole baseball game. So California man says, with Dre Greenlaw, Jordan Mason, and our key players gone, goodbye 2025 season. 2026, here I come. Yeah. They didn't really get rid of key players. That's the thing. Greenlaw was great, okay, but he played one game last year, and he's got injury concerns. I love Dre Greenlaw, but there's a lot of good linebackers in this league in the draft. Jordan Mason, he was our third running back, maybe second, okay, but they're going to get a good running back. The 49ers can draft running backs with their eyes closed and their hands tied behind their back. They can do it. They're great at drafting and developing running backs. Not worried. You lost Aaron Banks, not worried. And you lost Jalen Moore. Great for him. He's getting a starting opportunity. They really didn't lose much. You lost Deebo Samuel, who was a shell of himself. And you got younger players like Ricky Pearsall, Jacob Cowan ready to take over. Juwan Jennings, he looks like he's training for a freaking, I don't know, man. This guy's every day, making every second count. He's training like a madman. Jennings was amazing last year. First year, having that, he took over that wide receiver spot. So not too worried about the players the 49ers lost. Like, yeah, we lose fan favorites. It's a business. The 49ers lose players every year. And they've been in the NFC Championship game, Super Bowl, losing players every year. So I'm not too worried about it. A lot of people are counting the 49ers out in 2025, and I don't think you should. Can't sleep on. So Fred Warner was part of the Solomon Thomas trade down. Fred Warner was a fantastic trade. So that's as for all the bad picks the 49ers have had, they've had some fantastic picks. So, I mean, it's at a point like one bad player washes out a good player. It's for the most part, they've had some really good draft picks. I mean, they've had some horrible draft picks, but every team has bad draft picks, has good draft picks. You can't hit all of them all. The Fred Warner, George Kittle, right? They've had, Diamond Lenore, good late round pick. Juwan Jennings, 7th round pick, right? Those are some really good examples. But then on the flip side, you had, Dante Pettis, you had Jalen Hurd, right? You had Solomon Thomas, Mike McGlinchey. So you've had some bad picks, and it's just like, oh. And then you had some really good picks, and you're like, okay. So this year has to be one where they have a lot of good picks. Like last year was a draft so far, from what we've seen, they had a lot of good picks, right? Malik Mustafa, Dominic Pooney, right? Isaac Guerrero. They look really good. They passed the eye test so far. Jacob Cowan has some talent. Tatum Bethune, maybe he could be good, right? You got Renardo Green. Those guys really look like a solid draft cast. Ricky Pearsall, he looks like he could be a really solid player. Started the season off on the wrong foot, got shot, got a little injured before that as well. But once he kind of got his everything together and he came back and he started, playing and getting reps, Pearsall was like, wow, okay. That Detroit game, I was like, oh my God, this is the guy. So 49ers drafted well last year. They have to do that. They can't have a draft where they did, a couple years back, where you drafted Trey Lance and nobody really of substance on this team. They've had drafts where you're like, oh God. You look back and you're like, oh man. So this is a critical draft. And I think these top 30 visits, kind of like I said, they're kind of shaping what the 49ers plan may be. And it's not that they're going to, of course, draft these guys that they're having top 30 visits, but it gives you a sense of guys that they're looking into. And I always like to see these top 30 visits. Who are they meeting with? Because we can kind of start to imagine the team in a few months. So let's see. JJ. Steven Reynolds says, can you see Cam Scatterboo be a fullback due to day 3 due to the 40-yard dash? He ran between 4.5 or 4.57. I mean, yes, Cam Scatterboo might fall back, but he's one of those guys that could fall back and a team drafts him and he's just a football guy and he'll work hard. He'll be a blue chip guy, gritty type guy. And he'll probably make it on a roster and be a very talented player for a few years. I like Cam Scatterboo, and I think he could be a very fun player to have on your team. He's not a, big speed guy, but he's a big, powerful back. And sometimes you need a big, powerful guy that can get those short yardage, red zone, goal line situations. He's tough. He's a gamer. And, it reminds me a lot like Mike Allstott back in the day, Tampa Bay fullback. That guy he was rumbling, bumbling, stumbling type guy. Cam Scatterboo could play similar to that style, but he could catch. He could do a lot. I like Cam. He's a versatile player, but I don't think the 49ers are going to get him. I know a lot of people love Cam Scatterbo. He grew up a Niner fan, all the story. Like, it would be crazy, but I don't think the 49ers are going to get Cam Scatterbo. He's going to be one of those guys that gets drafted by a team and Niner fan, oh, it should have been Niner. It should have been Niner. I can see it now. If he gets drafted by Niners, I mean, it's going to go crazy. So. Chris says the Super Bowl is at Levi Stadium this season, and a low percentage of teams who make it to the Super Bowl when it's their stadium. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to make a Super Bowl in your own. It's tough to make a Super Bowl regardless. And then the odds of making it when you're hosting a Super Bowl, it's pretty slim, right? So I would love to see the 49ers here in Levi Stadium. It's my back. It's literally down the street. You know, I could drive down there and a hop, skip, and a jump. I could be there all week on Super Bowl week. I would love it. But I don't know. It's going to be tough. I mean, I do think the 49ers are going to be a much better team next year. I think they're going to win at least 10 games just because of the schedule. But will they be battle tested? Will they be good enough to beat the Washington Commanders? Will they be good enough to beat Philadelphia? Will they be good enough to beat Detroit? Those are the teams the 49ers have to make themselves better than. It doesn't matter. Or maybe even the Rams, because the Rams are going to be in contention. They're going to be a dogfight in the NFC West. But like, you think about the playoffs next year. You think of teams that are going to be in there. Okay. Like, you have to be able to beat your opponents weekly, right? You're going to play the Saints, the Panthers, the Bears, the Browns. You should be able to beat those teams. Now, let's say you get to the playoffs. Teams you might match up with next year, just right now on paper and making predictions, the Lions. Can the Niners beat the Lions right now? It's hard to say. It's probably not. Can the Lions beat the Eagles right now? Can the Lions beat the Commanders right now? Right now? Probably not. But 49ers need a draft and put some meat on this defensive line and offensive line and get a little bit more, offensive weapons. Although they didn't lose a lot. Debo, it wasn't the biggest loss in the world. I know. I think he was a great player. I think when he was healthy and everything and in his prime, Debo is fantastic. But it's time to move on, right? Brandon Ayuk, I hope he comes back next year. But, you didn't expect him to come back this year after the ACL and everything for the most part. So now you're hoping Ricky Pearsall, Jawan Jennings, and Cowan can take a leap up. Maybe you get another guy in the draft to help out. George Kittle, you expect him to do more. You expect Christian McCaffrey to be healthy, right? Those are guys that are going to be key contributors this year. So can the 49ers beat those teams? I don't know. But that's what the draft is for, to be better than those teams, to at least get a chance to make it to the Super Bowl. So we'll see. Ryan says the Lions are overrated. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be as good this year because they lost some good assistant coaches, right? They lost they lost their defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator, and they both took head coaching jobs, right? Glenn and Johnson, Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn are both gone. That's going to be tough for the Lions. Can they still be a top elite team without their big assistant coaches? Now, I know they're not the only coaches on that team. I'm sure they got some new coaches to replace them. And it's a big loss, though. I will say it's a big loss to lose your defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, who are really good. It's going to be interesting. Niners have been doing it yearly, right? They lost defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, and it takes a hit a little bit. So we'll see how good, Campbell is as a head coach. So my man, John B, what's good, baby? MSQ. Says, what has Moody done to you personally to warrant the hate? I think Justin answered my question. He sucked. Let's start there. Justin's coming in with fire today in the chat. I seen it. I seen him in the comments today. He's kicking. He spoke for me. What has Moody done to warrant the hate? This man has ruined our season. He's lost so many games for this team in the last couple of years. This man, there was games where he missed kicks where if you make at least one of those kicks, you win the game, man. Like, just, oh man. And then he gets coddled by the team. They always give him second chances. I don't know. I'm not a big Moody guy. I can't wait to find out who the hell they bring in as a kicker. I'm excited for this draft because after the draft, we're going to find out who the hell they're bringing in as kicker to compete with Jake Moody. I honestly can't wait to find out who the hell this kicker is going to be to compete with Jake Moody. Because I already want him to be the next kicker for the 49ers. Like, I'm done with Jake Moody. I think mentally it's just too much stress on the guy, right? You drafted him with the third round pick, sorry. And it didn't pan out, right? It's just because there's so much stress. When you're drafted as a kicker, so much stress, right? If he misses, Niner fans are going to be on that man's ass. Pause. They're going to be just roasting this man. They're going to be sending him nasty message in his DMs. Like it's tough. The social media world is rough these days. And I'm sure mentally he's like, oh my God. And it just puts an extra layer of pressure on a guy who has a lot of pressure because he was drafted in the 3rd round of the NFL draft. Get him out of there. Give me a new guy. If my man Moody said, MSQ says, if Moody beats out legitimate competition, are you going to discredit that? Absolutely not. If he can beat out the competition and he proves himself, that's what the whole competition was for, right? The competition is to bring out the best in Jake Moody and anybody, right? Iron sharpens iron, right? The whole saying, right? You bring in people to compete, and that's the whole point. Is if Moody can't beat out this guy, get him out there. But if he played better, if he kicks better, and he shows without a shadow of a doubt he deserves to be the kicker, then there's no question. You okay? You give him his chance. You say, okay, he beat the guy they brought in. That's his job. So 100%. Or if he beats out the competition, you can't question. You can't discredit that. But I'm pretty certain Jake Moody ain't beating anybody. If they bring in a legit competitive, if they bring in a legit ass kicker, a guy that has some talent, who's been in the league for a long time, and he knows the deal, and he can make kickers, or he can make kicks, he can go under pressure situations, I don't think Jake Moody can beat him just because it's mental in here for him now. He might just need a fresh start because the 49er fan base hates this guy. And the moment he has one bad kick, bad miss, bad PAT, anything, he's going to hear about it. It's going to be talk of the town. So I will not discredit the fact if he earns that job. I won't discredit, but I don't think he's going to earn that job. You kidding me? The guy's not going to earn that job. You kidding me? That man's time is ticking. His career with 49ers is ticking. It's ticking, MSQ. I'm telling you. I already said my prediction, said this on several shows. My prediction, Brent Boyer, new special teams coordinator, is going to say, hey, look, Jake Moody, we like the guy. We gave him his chance. He's not my guy. I like the guy. Nice guy. Good luck. He's going to cut him. They're going to let Brent Boyer be the guy to cut him. Brent Boyer has no ties to Jake Moody. He doesn't know who the hell Jake Moody is. He's the new special teams coordinator. He's getting rid of the players he wants to get rid of. He's going to keep the guys that he wants to keep. And he's going to bring in a kicker that he likes, that he's wanted, right? He's scout. They're already looking into kickers. Brent Boyer has a guy in mind. And if he has a guy that he's bringing in and he likes him, he's going to pick him over Jake Moody because he has no ties whatsoever to Jake Moody. He's got no skin in the game with Jake Moody. Count your days, Jakey. Moody. I'm always moody when it comes to Moody. I am. It puts me in a bad moody. I didn't. Justin says, who's the competition? Zane Gonzalez or a proven vet like Nick Folk? I mean, you would think it's Nick Folk. He's probably the best available. You got Rodrigo Blankenship. There's not a lot. Zane Gonzalez, there's not a lot of kickers, but I think those kickers named probably better than Jake Moody. But again, if he beats out those guys, good for you. You did your job. We'll see. Yeah, Nick Folk is solid. He's good. He's at 40, but I mean, you can be an older guy for kicker. It's gonna be funny because if they sign Nick Folk, the Niner fans are gonna ride the John Lynch and Kyle's. Oh, you guys want to get younger? You want to get younger, just like with John Weeks. But I mean, at that position, at a kicker, as a long snapper, you don't have to be 24 years old, 25. You just want a good veteran that's solid and consistent and is not going to get rattled. Like a guy like Nick Folk has been kicking in the league for what, 15 years, 12 years, something like that. This guy knows pressure. It's like he wakes up, he knows he's going to have to face the pressure on game day, whatever, goes out there, goes about his business and makes the kick. So that's the type of guy we need. We spend a lot of time talking about kickers. Said my man MSU says, you act like being a kicker is the easiest position in the world. It's not. It's a very hard. I said it. It's a lot of pressure on a kicker. Like there is a lot of pressure because that's your job. You go in there and you miss your kicks, your ass is going to be roasted around social media. It's not. I'm not saying it's not a hard job. I'm just saying if that's your job, go and do it. Be good at it. And Jake Moody doesn't seem like he's good at being a kicker. It's definitely no position in the NFL is hard or easy. It's hard to be in the NFL. It's hard to be an NFL player, no matter what position you are. It's not easy. No matter if you're a kicker, long snapper, right, cornerback, running back. I mean, there's different positions that are probably harder. Like quarterback's got to be the hardest, right? But every position is very challenging. I know I couldn't be a pro kicker. I'm not saying that Jake Moody is a worthless human being. He sucks. Just not a good kicker for the 49ers because there's so much pressure on his shoulders. And I'm done with the guy. Tired of losing. Like this whole offseason, you're getting rid of players and coaches that were not beneficial to you. Like players and coaches that are not on this team anymore are big reasons why they were 6-win team. Like, yes, injuries were there, but like Nick Sorensen, who's a horrible DC, Brian Schneider, horrible special teams coordinator. And there was a lot of players that just, they had to get rid of. They were, loose ends, players that weren't really going to make a big difference on the team, or there was players that just couldn't afford to bring back, or players that, we knew they were going to be gone. Charvarius Ward, great player. We knew he was moving on, right? Because of all the adversity he had to face. He even said, PTSD. So 49ers they're trying to move away from a 6-win team. Jake Moody definitely was part of that 6-win team. He's a big factor. Now, he was injured, and he did play on an injured ankle, which if you're a kicker, that's a big deal. They brought him back. I think they brought him back a little too early. But regardless, it's all mental for Jake Moody. Yeah, let's kick it to the next topic, right? Let's see if there's anything else out there that we haven't talked about. Pretty sure we touched everything. We touched upon everything. Jauan Jennings, man, this man has been working his head off lately. I don't know if you guys seen Jauan Jennings every day has been posting, literally every day posting. He's working with David Robinson. He's a world-renowned, not Dave Robinson from the Spurs, right? The Admiral. He's this guy, David Robinson. He's a wide receivers trainer. He's like one of the best. He's worked with some of the best trainers. He's worked with 49er receivers for many years, but this guy's Instagram handle is d.robalwaysopen. So Rob Always Open is the trainer, and he's been working with Jauan Jennings extensively this offseason. A couple other receivers he's been working with too. You'll see him. He posts about it every day on his story, like who he's working with. But Jauan Jennings, man, this guy, he's really cooking up. If you really think about it, it's another contract here for Jennings. So he's going to get even better, right? He was forced to be the number one receiver last year because of the injuries, and he delivered, man. It should have been his first 1,000 yards season last year. But, of course, unfortunately, there was that nonsense that happened in the last game. They had to throw him out, and he was, like 20 yards shy. But, I mean, Jauan Jennings was an absolute beast. He looks like he's going to get better. So can't wait to see what he does. And, over the weekend, Christian McCaffrey, you guys must have saw all the news. Christian McCaffrey had his high school jersey retired. Pretty cool. Valor Christian High. I mean, his highlights are viral all over the place now from high school. Christian McCaffrey was a dog. I know you guys may have heard the story. His dad gave him like IVs. He didn't want to get dehydrated. Like the way his training was intense. Christian McCaffrey posted on Instagram. He says, "Yesterday was an emotional honor for me. This jersey represents all of the people who shaped me into the person I am today. I carry you with me and all that I do." So good for Christian McCaffrey. That was some pretty cool news over the weekend that he had his high school jersey retired. And I'm excited to see Christian McCaffrey back this year. I hope he's healthy and ready to rock and roll because the 49ers desperately need his abilities on the field. So good stuff. And take a look, couple more think of questions. VZ says, will BA be good to go week 1? A lot of different reports. Kyle Shanahan says he wouldn't rule it out. Adam Schefter a couple weeks ago says probably midseason, just based on the injury, the medical information, rehab, and all those things, and certain markers he has to hit. I don't think Brandon Aiyuk will be ready for week 1. I just don't see it. There's a possibility he could come back earlier than we think, but I don't think he should come back week 1. Don't need to rush it. You don't need to, work him to the bone and force him to be back if he's not ready. I mean, obviously, like Kyle Shanahan said, there is a small possibility. I just don't see it happening. I don't think Brandon Aiyuk could be ready by week 1. I think that'd be a fast recovery. He had ACL, MCL, and meniscus tears, so that's a tough one. But he's working hard. He's looking happy. He was out there this weekend at the Warriors game. He got to meet E40. Him and Steph Curry hyped up on the sidelines. That was a fun moment. BA's looking like he's doing okay right now. So Chris says, the truth be told, Moody was terrible, and we all know it. I'm not taking you for him, but we do just blame Moody, or do we blame the whole special teams for how terrible they all were? I mean, part of it was special teams coordinator, right? Snyder didn't have his guys prepared, and that special team was abysmal. Jake Moody's part of that. The team also, again, they played him on an ankle injury when he probably wasn't ready to return, but they, had 2 other kickers that got hurt, and they needed a kicker. So it was kind of a bad situation. It was a bad situation with a lot of players last year, but also Jake Moody, I just feel part of it is his fault. You miss those kicks because it's mental. You get in your head, you have the yips, and I just think a lot of it is maybe he just felt pressured. If he's on this team next year, I want him to do good, right? We all want players to do good. I wouldn't root against Jake Moody if he's on the team. If he's the damn kicker, I hope he makes every single kick that he attempts. I hope he's a Pro Bowler, because the better he does, the better it is for the 49ers. But just based on how he's played over the last years, I can't take it, man. I can't take it. So I think that's the biggest biggest takeaway is, yes, we want him to succeed if he's on the team, but he just hasn't shown that he could. I mean, maybe he could bounce back, but it just gives me a lot of anxiety watching him. So my man Justin says, I met E40 once. Other than his Niner song, I had no clue who he was. Wow, that's crazy. He's a Bay Area legend. If you knew about Bay Area music back in the day, you knew E40. I met him a few times. Super cool guy. We did an sponsor event, and he was there at one of our events, and super cool. He was there chilling with us. E40 is a nice guy. He's a smart guy. He's Bay Area. If you know anything about Bay Area culture, E40 is a big part of that. But yeah, good for him. Can I do a mock round of the live? We're gonna do mock tomorrow. I'm gonna set up some mock stuff tomorrow with Larry Krueger, most likely. Maybe tonight I'll do a mock if I have some time. But we should plan a mock this week. I'll see if we can do a mock draft sometime soon. I got to get all set up and everything. We should mock draft with the fans. We'll do a fan mock draft. Let's do it this week. So let's see. Tej Beat says, rather trade for Trayvon Walkers. I like Trayvon Walker. Good player. Give up the Moody Todd. Let's see. That's pretty much going to do it for today. Yeah, it looks like all the questions are all done. That's it for today. We talked for a long time today. 43 minutes. This is more than I thought we were going to do. Appreciate you guys. Let's see. Tomorrow night, live with Larry, as we always are on Tuesdays. So we'll probably try to do a mock draft tomorrow. I don't know if he'll have time for it, but I'll make sure we do a live mock draft at some point this week, whether it be on Instagram or YouTube. I'm not sure yet, but we'll try to do a mock draft live. So, yeah, you guys have a good rest of your day. Appreciate you. Go Niners. Love you. Have a good rest of your Monday.